Alright, so I'm going to get this primary clutch off here. So this is she's a 13/16 spark plug socket right on there. Need a clutch puller. So this basically works for almost every Ski-doo out there from back in the day all the way up to the present ones. Other than the 583s are different. These threads are close to the end of the shaft here on a 583. And some of the other fan cooled sleds that don't have a TRA clutch, they'll also require a different puller. Now, one thing you want to do is you want to jam the crankshaft so it can't rotate. So I like to use something soft. So this is obviously rubber on the end of this hammer here. So I just have it wedged in between the bob weight and the case. Sometimes a block of wood works. Usually I like to take all this stuff off while the engine is still mainly assembled, and then use an impact gun to pop that off and use it for the clutch puller as well. Obviously this is already disassembled, so we're gonna have to do it this way. I couldn't find my clutch puller at the time when I was working on unseizing the top end here, or else I would have already pulled this off. So I'm gonna work on that. Biggest thing is you want to be really careful if you're jamming something in here that you don't damage the cases. So if you can see, there's these little tabs here. If you don't want to break them off, it'll change the velocity of your mixture coming up into your transfer ports. And then on the other side you have your intake on the rotary plate. So obviously you don't want to damage that either. So we're going to work on doing that. And yeah. It was a tight one. This is why I like using impact gun. So got to get my air compressor all set up so I can start having air tools again. Makes things much easier. Right, so then something that I like to do to help break it loose is spray some penetrating fluid down in here. Just kind of spray it in there until it starts coming out. Again, you quickly shove in your puller here. And that helps with a little bit of hydraulic pressure. Just gotta grab a socket for that. I believe it's a 21 mil. No, 22. Yeah, 22 mil. So now this is going to be rotating the opposite way because we're going to be turning it in. So like I said, be very careful when you're putting something in here to stop the crank from rotating. So you don't want to damage the cases. So, hey Henry, what do you think? There it goes. Not too much force. That wasn't bad at all. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse than that. So, anyways, this is a little tight just because I've whacked many times on this with a hammer, and it's a little mushroomed over here. So, but anybody that says don't whack on it with a hammer, you don't really have to worry. Just like tops. Back in 2005, back in my Ski-doo Tech days, when the Mach Z 1000s first came out, they had a whole plethora of recalls because they were big lemons. And one of the things that we had to do was put solid pins in the roll for the rollers, because they were over revving. So one of the things we had to do, all these brand new sleds, was pop these clutches off, and you could not get them to come off unless you took a sledgehammer and you just pounded on them. And you know, that was at the dealer level we were doing that, so didn't damage any of them. So people say don't pound on the ends of the cranks. They're pretty resilient. They're not going to break anything. You'd probably damage your clutch before you damaged your crank. So just be very careful when you're doing that you hit it dead on. It doesn't slip off and hit the governor cap and break something on your clutch. But yeah, so that's how you pop a clutch. Just gonna take a look here. Yeah, that crank seal is not looking the best. So I mean, we're splitting these cases anyways. All new seals. Most likely a new crank. So I don't have high hopes for this crank. So, but we'll take her apart. Maybe we'll get lucky and it won't be bad, or maybe just need some other bearings we can press off, and that's fairly simple to do. When we're ready to change in, you know, connecting rod bearings, center bearings, it's a lot more involved. So, and I really don't have the tools set up here to be doing that. I can do outer bearings, no problem. But yeah, so if we need a crank, we're gonna be looking for most likely a good used one. I'm trying to do this on a budget. I mean, she's only $300 sled. It's for my son, so he's 12, just got his snowmobile license. So the cheaper the better. Okay, so we're gonna get this flywheel pulled off here so we can get the stator out. We have to obviously do that so we can split these cases. Then we still take the motor plate off. But what you're gonna need, 30 mil 1/2 inch socket in there, and 6 mil Allen key socket for 3 of those. So there is red Loctite on here from the factory, and every time I rebuild one I do the same. So you're going to want to get a propane torch or oxyacetylene torch, something with some heat, maybe heat gun if you're put it on there for a while. But I just like to use a propane torch, just heat up the end of the shaft here, heat up the nut. Once it starts to smoke a bit, you know you're burning off the Loctite, and usually that's good enough. You don't want to go too crazy with everything. I mean, if I'm replacing the seals, it doesn't matter too much, but the shaft, if it gets hot enough, the heat can transfer into the crank seal and melt the lip seal part of the shaft, or the seal that goes on the shaft. So if you're just doing a stator and you know you're not doing a motor job, don't put too much heat to that because you could damage stuff. So I'm gonna get the torch out, I'm gonna heat this up, I'm gonna pull this nut off, we're gonna pull this cup off for the rewind. Then we're gonna get the puller out, and you're gonna put the puller into these 3 bolt holes and push on the end of the crankshaft where this little hole is here with the puller, and hopefully that flywheel will just pop right off there and allow us to access the stator. So I'm gonna get all set up for that and bring you back. Oh. It's always good when you're working on sleds. Big breaker bar. Sometimes you even have to put a pipe on the end of this thing to extend it. So definitely good to have in your arsenal. This will be a little hot, so watch your fingers. Get the lock washer over there. What's in there? That's what you want to be careful of. That's jammed in there good now. So, there we go. But I did it really slowly, so it wouldn't crack anything. Alright, so I just gotta get a puller on here, and then depending on how long that takes, I might heat this up again because there's also some red Loctite on the shaft where the flywheel sort of slides on. So you can see a residue of the red Loctite there. So red is supposed to be heated up to break the adhesive basically. Blue Loctite, you usually don't have to heat it, but red you do just to break it free. So I said just get the torch out, heat her up for you know, a few minutes, and you should be good to go. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a quick little hone job on these cylinders. Got the spring hone all assembled into the drill. Some brake clean, some penetrating fluid. So we're gonna use those for our lube and for cleaning. I like to start with penetrating fluid. I've used brake clean too. It cuts it more aggressively. But one thing you got to remember with a spring hone is just to, you know, take your time, be a little delicate with it. You can put a cylinder out around. I've seen it before. So also when you're doing the opposite side, you got to be careful that you don't hook the hone on the edges here. If you come back too far to hook it, it could break the stones on the hone, snap them right off. You got to buy new ones. So I've done this lots of times, hundreds of motors, so you know, I'm not too concerned with it. I am a professional. But truthfully I am. But anyways, yeah, so we'll get that honed out and we'll see how bad those are, and we'll get some calipers on there and just kind of get a measurement. I don't even know if these have been bored over before, so we kind of got to figure that out. I'm not quite sure if we're going to be reusing these. I found a set on eBay I'm kind of looking at for a good deal. And kind of keep these as a spare, maybe send them out at some point, get them bored, do some port work to them. I don't know. I've also found a complete crankcase. So crankcase. And it apparently is a low mile sled. Very good price for both, so you know, I might pick that up too. Because like I said, I'm not expecting big things with that crank once we pull it out. So anyways, we'll get honing here. Okay, so as you can see, we've had some carnage, which I figured that was going to happen with this. This hone is at least 5 years old. Had cracks all in the stones. Yeah, I don't hone too much stuff anymore. Most engines that I build are now Nikasil, just because they've used that for like the last 20 years. So yeah, I don't ever have to hone anything, because if the cylinder's bad enough, usually the nickel seal is peeled and it gets replaced with a replated one. And they dress it all when they replate it. So that hone hasn't been out of my toolbox in about 5 years. So I figured this was going to happen. I just need to order some new stones now. But anyways, we were able to get this cylinder all honed. Didn't turn out too bad. Doesn't look like there's really any pitting or issues with this one. Still a little dirty. I just didn't get all the brake cleaner and everything wiped out, but yeah, I'm happy with how that one turned out. Obviously, it needs more work with the hone just to get a better crosshatch. I just did a quick once through just to kind of look at all the pitting from the rust. There's still some pitting there. You can kind of see it, but you can't feel it. So, like I said, another few passes with some good stones. Get a good crosshatch on there, and it's definitely a cylinder you could reuse, no problem. This one, on the other hand, as I feared, it's toast. So it's pretty bad, pretty pitted from the rust. I mean, I don't know how long this thing's been sitting with water in it, how long that piston's been locked in there, but as you can see, it's bad. So this one's gonna definitely need to be bored over. Again, I gotta get the calipers out just to do an inspection to see what we're sitting at, if it's already been bored. If it has been, you know, how far over it's been bored and how much more we can go. So, like I said, I'm probably just gonna order those cylinders I found on eBay. And I have this little issue here anyways. I got a little overzealous with the club, trying to break this piston loose. Just nicked that. So anyways, like I said, there's lots of meat there still for the O-ring. I don't think it would cause an issue, especially if we're going to bore it over. We're probably going to lose at least half of that, so it's not really a big deal. Could see about getting it welded before it gets bored, just that way it's out of there. Or see what the price of putting a whole new sleeve in this thing is, if this is a standard bore still, and you know it's good enough, maybe we just put a new sleeve in here that's standard size, and then we have a spare set of standard cylinders. It's going to be more money to put a sleeve in than to bore it, I know that from experience, but if I bore it, I don't want to not bore this one, so I would send them both out, get them both bored so they're a match set. So, and then like I said, if we're going to be doing that, we're going to be doing some port work to these. But that's in the future, not for right now. So, like I say, we're trying to rebuild this thing on a budget, trying to get it on the snow, you know, by the new year. We're less than a week to Christmas, so see if we can get some parts ordered up and how fast they get here, and maybe by New Year's, provided we have some snow, we can get this thing going and go for a ride. Hey Jazzy, what do you think? Hey? Sally sitting there supervising. What do you think? So anyways, we'll get some parts ordered. Okay, so I'm gonna get a measurement here just to confirm that these are standard bore. I'm pretty sure this motor's never been apart. I mean, the sled has just over 5,000 miles on it. So, I mean, that's, you know, that's pretty typical for these things to go. But base gaskets, they look like they're factory. Pistons, say made in Austria, right there. So, obviously, Rotaxes are built in Austria, so those are factory pistons. Aftermarket pistons wouldn't say that. So I'm assuming these are standard size. 500 rotary motor is 69.5, I believe, millimeters. So there's the 70 mil. So we want to be just under that. I don't have a battery in here that's working, so I'm just going to use them as old school calipers. They still have the scale so you can read them. Kind of go back and forth while you're pulling gently on them, just so that way you know you're getting an accurate reading. Ooh. And yet we are just at, kind of see 69, so I'm going to assume those are standard bore. So that being said, we can bore these over no problem. Yep. So this one, like I said, would be fine to use it in a rebuild. I just got to hone it a little bit more, just get a better cross hatch in it. But this one it's beyond honing, so we're gonna have to bore that, and it's probably gonna need to go at least, I don't know, 20 to 30 thou over. They make them all the way up to a 50 thou over for these 500 motors. I don't like to go on the max just because if it blows again, you can't hone it or bore it anymore. But it really doesn't give you that much more displacement either. Everybody says, "Oh, bore it over," and it'd be, bore it 50 over, it'd be a 550 or close to a 600, and that's not the case. So be closer to like a 515, maybe 520 cc. So anyways, we're just gonna probably order those ones on eBay, those good used ones that are standard bore. Get some pistons ordered, get a gasket set ordered, and I got a few bottom ends I'm looking at too to purchase on eBay. So can't seem to find a good used engine in a scrapyard complete. Not to mention, nobody can guarantee me what type of shape the engine's in, because the ones that I have found are just sitting on shelves. They've been there for years. They have a compression test with some tape usually on each cylinder, where they wrote it with a Sharpie, so kind of know the compression. But the bottom end is a gamble, so I'm thinking just picking up a cheap bottom end that they say is a good known crank, has a bit of warranty from a good seller on eBay there, and we'll pull her apart, put all new seals in, and check the crank while it's apart, and build her up from there. So anyways, that's how you hone and how you check the bore of the cylinders with a caliper. Now obviously this doesn't check the outer round and how worn the cylinder is. Unfortunately, I don't have a bore gauge. Just one of those tools I've never bought. They're expensive, and every dealership that I have worked at, they usually have their own. So that's why I've never had to buy one. But definitely one of the tools for the future that I'm looking to get, along with some inside micrometers. Anyways, that's all for this one. All right, Happy New Year. So we are January 1st. Haven't been doing much work on the SLS there, since before Christmas. As far as I could go was basically taking it down to the bottom end, and I needed to get a puller for the flywheel just because I didn't have my puller here. It's still up in Canada with a lot of my other tools. So that being said, I've been doing some other work around the shop here. So I have a bunch of pot lights that I've installed everywhere. Bought a pack on Amazon, so for a pretty good deal, and they're pretty bright. It's a lot brighter in here. They're LEDs, so they're not going to kill on the hydro. Been doing some carpentry work inside the house, working on the kitchen. So, and some other honey-do lists, since the sled repair process has come to a halt. So finally got a puller in. I ordered on Amazon. It was about a week delayed. They kept bumping the shipping date on me when it was going to arrive. So it's finally here. So we're going to get to work on that and get this flywheel off, get the stator off, and split the bottom end to see what the cranks are like. So I'll show you what I got. So I also ordered a siphon hose. These things are great. I've had these for over 15 years. The only issue is this rubber, I guess it's not even rubber. This hose gets hard over time, and it gets brittle and breaks. It's just a little ball bearing in the end here. So you just kind of go back and forth with the ball bearing in the gas tank, and then you get your other hose into your gas can, and then that way you're not sucking on the end of a hose getting the mouth full of gas. So those things work great. I think this thing was like 12-15 bucks on Amazon, free shipping. So came with the flywheel puller, and I need to drain this gas. That's one of the reasons why I got that. You know, it's full of brown stale gas. The cap is no good on this, so it's been leaking water in there over the years. Well, it's been sitting. I don't know how long this thing's been sitting. The guy really didn't tell me. So obviously it's been outside, judging by the seat, it's all dry rotted. So what am I gonna do about this yet? I really don't want to spend 150 bucks on a new seat cover. But yeah, we got her all cleaned up. It's actually it's in pretty good shape. There's no cracks or anything in the hood. A little bit of wear marks here. Must have had it on its side there, because that looks like a bit of road rash. Sticker's a little faded there, but overall she's in good shape. So back to the motor here. I'm gonna open this up here. Try to do this one hand without cutting myself open. So I've never used this style flywheel puller before. I'll either use the OEM one, which goes on there, just because most times I've been at a dealer that has it when I'm working on them. Or if I am at my own shop, I use a either a harmonic balancer puller or a steering wheel puller. So again, that is not down here with me. It's up in Canada, so I do have to make a run up there and get some more sleds and stuff. But yeah, I ordered this because I couldn't wait. I wanted to have this ripped apart, you know, basically right after Christmas. But this ended up taking a week longer, so almost wasn't even worth ordering it. But anyways, I have it here now. Okay, so we got the puller all set up on the flywheel here. It was a little bit too small.